The Hebrew word pronounced Alma, translated in the book of Yeshayahu, that's Isaiah 7, verse 14. Interesting, 7 times 2 is 14, easy to remember. And the word Alma is ambiguous. Of and by itself, it was interchangeable a couple thousand years ago and could be translated as either maiden, young woman, or virgin. And anyone out there who says that it can only mean maiden, young woman, or virgin explicitly is either doesn't know what they're talking about, they're lacking some important information, just innocently ignorant of how diversely the word could be used a couple thousand years ago, or they're intelligently using some dogma to purposely deceive some others out there. Now, I'm not here to judge any of your hearts out there or intentions, but I assume we're all seeking truth, seeking Him sincerely, and that's what this video recording is for. Because a couple thousand years ago, this Hebrew word pronounced Alma could mean, I'm going to provide plenty of evidence here, that it could mean either virgin, or it could also mean just a maiden or a young woman, or plural if we put a plural suffix to it. However, though, Betula with a B was explicit a couple thousand years ago. From all I've heard and researched, it could only mean virgin. And it was the explicit Hebrew word for virgin. Could not just mean a young woman or righteous woman of and by itself in translation. So the big question is, that a lot of people like to propose is, if it is so important to believe, why did the Most High not use that word or inspire Isaiah, Yeshayahu, to write the word Betula, so that we wouldn't have any debates over this? It would be so explicit for everyone. Well, let us remember scriptures like Mishlei, or Proverbs, chapter 25 and verse 2, where it says, "It is the glory of the Most High to" what here? To conceal or hide a matter. But it is the glory of kings to search out or to seek out the matter. So in other words, He, the Most High, purposely sometimes hides truth. He likes to play hide and seek. He knows that we like to play hide and seek, even as children, not just as children, adults. We have compass searches for treasure hunts. In the big cities, there's also scavenger hunts and treasure hunts, and when it's hidden and you find it, we seem to appreciate it a lot more. And so He purposely does it, not just on the Peshat level, but He expects us to go beyond the simple text in certain matters. And apparently, perhaps, the context of this verse should be good enough in the Darash. We say the context, and I'll get to that in the next video teaching. But this video teaching, I'm going to stick with the Hebrew words, the two Hebrew words, Alma and Betula. And as He hides truth, as I also wrote down here in my notes in Yeshayahu, that's Isaiah, chapter 55 and verse 6, He says, seek Him while He may be found. And so as we have life and breath, and not just reading the scriptures here on the Peshat simple text only, but let's look at the Darash. We have some Ramez and Sod levels here that are important for understanding truth a little bit more accurately and seeking Him. So That's why I have this, playlist here. I'm going to diverse subtopics and break it down on smaller subtopic levels to digest. And now, because this Hebrew word may be translated as maiden or virgin, there is more valuable information, translation evidence that I have to propose to you, to provide for you, and to consider seriously. For example, the Greek word translated for Alma in the Septuagint, and most of you out there probably know the Septuagint was written and completed around 132 BCE. That's over 100 years before Yeshua. Non-biased translators, and according to legend, 70 translators. Top Jewish scribe translators with great reputation and renown for translating and putting it into the whole scriptures here, the Tanakh, the Old Testament as most people refer to it as, into the Greek language, because Greek Empire and Greek language and speaking was becoming more predominant as it was taking over the Middle East and all over that side of the earth over there, world. And so they translate it, and they use the same Greek word that's used in the Brit Hadashah writings. That's the New Testament, that Greek word. What is that Greek word? The Greek word is parthemos. And one might argue that Miriam, most people know her aka Mary, Miriam, her Jewish name of the 1st century CE, may not have been a virgin after all. Maybe she was just a maiden or a young woman giving birth, and so that is an argument that is proposed because of this word Alma. Could be translated interchangeably a couple thousand years ago, as I said, as virgin or maiden. So let's go to the Brit Hadashah writings and see if there's some evidence there to make it explicit, other than just trying to translate this word Parthemos. Now, Parthenon was the Greek word for Betula, but that's not used in both Yeshayahu, Isaiah 7:14, or in the Brit Hadashah for Miriam. So let's look and see what else we can find here. First of all, I'll read the first account in Matisyahu, or we say Matthew in modern times. Many know him as. Matisyahu chapter 1 and verses 22 and 23, it says, "So all this was done that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by," he says here, the Most High, his name, "through the prophet," Yeshayahu, saying, verse 23, "Behold," and it says the virgin. Now this is Strong's number 3933. It's 3933. Interesting, 3 3s add up to 9 there. 3933. Anyway, Parthemos. You can check it up for yourself in the Strong's Concordance. It says, "Shall be with child and bear a son, and they may call his name Emmanuel," which also means the Most High is with us. And I'll cover that in another teaching, why it's not commonly referring to him with that name in the Brit Hadashah writings, and that'll be another playlist subtopic here. But moving on here, this is simply a quote from the book of Isaiah 7:14. So still a little bit ambiguous here of and by itself, but however, let's go to Luke, the physician, the Jewish physician of the 1st century who wrote the book of Luke, where it is very explicit that Mary was a virgin. Let's look at this here. Verses 26 and 27. It says, "Now in the 6th month of the angel, 6th month of the pregnancy, the angel Gabriel was sent by the Most High here to the city of Galilee named, to a city of Galilee named Nazareth, as most commonly pronounced, to a virgin here. Here's that word Parthamos, ambiguous, right, so far. Betrothed to a man whose name was Joseph. Yosef, as we say in Hebrew. Of the house of David. The virgin, or Parthamos, may I say, name was Miriam. Most people know her as Mary today. Now notice, jumping down to verse 35, this is where it gets explicit, that she was a virgin, which expresses, as I said, quoting, "Then Miriam said to the angel, 'How can this be, since I do not know a man?'" Well, we don't see the Greek word Parthamos or Parthenon for Alma or Betula here, but it says, "I do not know a man." Now, what I propose that this is very discreet, Torah-style type vague terminology for the kids out there and teenagers, not to use more explicit words, but to say, "I do not know a man." We can see when we read the story, she already knew Joseph, and if we take this as a literal common understanding of terminology today, to know the opposite sex doesn't necessarily mean there's what going on. So here it says, and for some Torah proof here, if you want some literal written Torah proof here, in the book of Bereshit, in Genesis chapter 4 verse 1, it says, "Now Adam knew Eve, his wife, and she conceived and bore Cain, and said, 'I have acquired a man from the Most High.'" So here we have that word knew. Adam knew Eve. Now, I don't think this is saying anytime you know somebody of the opposite sex, the way we use terminology today, that there's going to be a baby all of a sudden, or a pregnancy. So I think we have to understand, Miriam, when she said, "I do not know a man," she was using some discreet terminology, right? And we have an example of that. And there's other examples in the Torah where you see, "and he knew her," and so forth, and then a baby comes out sooner or later. So you might still hear some rabbis, however, might want to reply to that and say, as well as other Torah lovers out there, might say things like, well, there's many ancient pagan religions out in ancient times who claim virgin births, impregnated by the Most High or whatever God they worship, or gods plural. Well, and they'll say, well, Christianity is just copying some of these ancient pagan religions, or it was common among pagan religions in ancient times. Well, my response to that is that whether you believe in Hasatan, a literal one, or not, adversaries, and we can say pagans, can sometimes, foresee the Most High's plan in advance, and especially when it's in a prophecy and given, can easily counterfeit. And they love to counterfeit the truth, emet. They love to counterfeit it. Counterfeit money, it looks the same, it smells the same, it feels the same. But you have to know the real thing to be able to discern a counterfeit, something that is very close. And we see this. I'll give you 3 examples in the Torah. One God, as we say, monotheistic. And Judaism isn't the only religion out there that's monotheistic, that claims that they believe in just one God. Right? So are we going to stop believing in one Ancient of Days simply because other religions in ancient times claim this? Or how about the story of Abraham, told by the Most High to sacrifice his son? Now, Judaism isn't the only ancient religion that claims this as well. So, I don't think we want to say that story is not true because it's being utilized by other religions who believe in different gods. How about new moons for Moedim, for the appointed times, the annual ones? You know, we can go to Psalms chapter 104, verse 19. It says, He, the Most High, appointed the moon for Moedim. Your translation might say seasons, but look up that Hebrew word. And it says the sun knows it's going down. And so there's a lot of ancient pagan religions that worship the moon and have a calendar that goes by new moons. And there's a lot of counterfeit calendars that have been developed over the centuries. And so what I'm proposing here is that we just don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Let's look at the truth. Let's look at it sincerely. Let's put away all prejudice and bias and whatever we've been taught growing up that we're so sincere about. If we need to do a paradigm shift, I know it's difficult. I've done a few in my faith already. And when the evidence is provided explicitly, or at least overrides and disproves what I had believed before, I do change. It's difficult and it takes time sometimes, but let's look at this a little more sincerely and to seek Him with sincerity and truth. Emet, as we say in Hebrew. Emet is the Hebrew word for truth. Now, nevertheless, to summarize, in conclusion, for this section of the playlist, video teaching, this Hebrew word Alma versus Betula topic, well, it's not explicit 2,000 years ago, of and by itself. The evidence I provided is that this Hebrew word can be translated, could be translated as virgin or maiden. And this is where we have to go to the Brit Hadashah writings, and we see that Miriam was a virgin. And she even admitted it to the angel. How could this be? This isn't some common everyday occurrence. This is like, wow. Sounds impossible. Like a mission impossible. But it wasn't. So again, Alma does remain ambiguous of and by itself in this scripture, Yeshayahu, Isaiah 7:14, just of and by itself. So this is where we need the darash, the context. It is necessary to establish credibility, accuracy, the probable priority of how we should translate this word. Or in some cases it becomes very explicit. Therefore, stay tuned for my next exciting playlist video titled, or I shouldn't say it's titled, but regarding the drash, the context of Yeshayahu, that's Isaiah 7, verse 14.